Welcome, everybody. My name is Sajid Nair. I am one of the co-leaders of the Delhi-Gurgaon Atlassian community. I have with me three amazing speakers, three amazing, I would say, amazing people who support and talk about Confluence all the time on their LinkedIn. And I've seen all their posts at so many places. And that's the reason I had to get this panel together to talk about Confluence. So officially, our title of the session today is Content and Collaboration Best Practices in Confluence. And we will come to best practices and we'll talk more about it. But before we begin, just some housekeeping rules. I've muted everybody in the attendee. If you have a question, please raise your hand. I will unmute you and you can ask your question. You can always at all times write your questions in the chat as well. As I was saying, if you have a specific question for somebody, mention their name as well. Otherwise, if it's open question, if you have a specific feature related question, just write it in the chat or in the Q&A, and the panel would be happy to answer that. All right. Before we begin, of course, we have to do quick introductions. So let's start with you, Andy.
Hi, everybody. My name is Andy Gladstone. I'm the Chief Operating Officer at Fidelity Payment Services. We're a financial technology company based out of Brooklyn, New York. I'm today in my home in Far Rockaway, New York. As you can see, my home office. Sajit and I have spent a lot of time together with this office in the background. I am a Confluence user and admin for over 10 years. Started with Confluence Server back in 2011 when we migrated our internal wiki server over to Confluence. There was a process there. Maybe we'll get into it later when we talk about that specifically. And I feel that Confluence can help help solve world problems, create world peace, and maybe even end world hunger because it's that powerful a tool.
Nice. And we will come to that. Thank you, Andy. Marin. You're on mute, Marin.
Sorry, Marin, I'm the CEO of Kaler, Atlassian marketplace partner. So we are building apps and our focus is Confluence. I think, I don't know, I can say a lot of great word about Confluence, but I'm using it during my work. I'm using it privately. I love Confluence. I love building apps for Confluence. I love sharing tips and tricks on LinkedIn, and everything what we are doing right now within the Kaler is mostly focused on Confluence apps and Confluence environment. So I also believe we can do great things, and I agree with everything what Andy said. I started also with Sever, and this year, as soon as the cloud version was available, I am actually using cloud version now, and I'm happy to participate here because I really love what we are doing, and the topic is great. So thanks for inviting me. And
awesome. Thank you, Marin. Theodora.
That's me. Hello, everyone. I'm Theodora, and I'm using Confluence since 2016 when I first joined my first vendor company. So I can say I'm ex-Botron, ex-Appfire, ex-Old Street, and now Tempo employee. I can't escape sharing this every time because it's quite funny. And I built thousands of pages in each of these vendors. So I just live and breathe with Confluence. I use it for my personal activities. I use it at work. I believe it helps us a lot with distributed working, with remote, with people all over the world, and even some team building activities or getting to know the team better. I just love the tool and I believe in it strongly. So I'm super happy to be here and I'm looking forward to some interesting questions.
Awesome. Perfect. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. All right. So I'll start the question, start this conversation with the most basic question that obviously I could think of that some of you might have as well. What is Confluence? And what are the key features that you like? Let's say 30 seconds each participant. Andy, let's begin with you.
So Confluence is a centralized knowledge base that is intended for collaboration. It is not static. It is not something that has one author that others will just nurse from. It is something that is an environment that is intended for collaboration that allows information that is key to your organization or to your project to be easily searched for, easily digested and read, and then collaborated with. The power of Confluence is unleashed when an organization adopts the practice of everyone being contributors as opposed to being consumers.
Okay. And any favorite feature that you have for Confluence?
I would say the simple macros that are built into Confluence, just using the / command to be able to beautify your pages. That's it's the simplest thing there, but it could really change the way that your content gets consumed. A page that is built the right way, which I'm sure we'll speak about a little bit later, is a page that more people will spend time on and consuming its content. And oftentimes, that's the best way to get your organization to have the same knowledge across different departments, different facilities, different areas, maybe even regionally or internationally, is creating an engaging page that people want to stay on and consume the content of.
Sure. Okay. Theodora, coming to you for just the features. I think Andy has probably covered everything about what Confluence is. So, favorite feature?
Absolutely. I can say every formatting macro is one of my favorite features. I just love well-formatted pages. I don't like people who throw content, just slap it in there and think that other people are engaging self-willingly in it. It's not like that. If it's nicely and beautifully formatted, then it's pleasurable for the people to go through it and work with it. I also love things like parent-child relationships, stable content, things like anchors, super useful for long pages and super useful for navigation and for everyone who are just don't have enough time to read through 1,000 lines. And I love some third-party app integrations, but I believe that we'll talk about this somewhere in this conversation.
Sure, we will. Yeah. Maren, what about you?
Definitely blogs. So I think so the visibility of blogs is not good enough, but I'm using blogs a lot, especially with content formatting macros, especially those one from Atlassian. And I think that's great. So I'm using it to share every kind of information within our company. So we are not a big company. We are quite small. We have around 20 people, but I love blogs. So everything what I need to share with, if I read a cool book, if I do something, if I'm somewhere with a customer and so on, I'm using Confluence and not chats and not any communication channels, because this is something when people can engage. If I can create a beautiful page very fast with cool templates, that's awesome for me. What I can say is Confluence will help you to build a learning organization. That's exactly what Andy said. If you are using Confluence, actually the knowledge and everything will just go up, and you will feel as a CEO or someone for leading a team and a company, you will feel that people will know more and they can share information. So content formatting and blogs.
Nice. I've not actually used blogs for the longest time that I can remember. But like in the last 6 months, we started using it internally in our teams as well, communicating with our teams. But yeah, I agree. Definitely something is underutilized or under talked about feature in Confluence for sure. Perfect. So that ends the part where I pinpoint and ask questions, guys. Okay. It's an open conversation. I'm going to throw a question out there. And I hope Theodora, you, Andy, and Maren, you can all pitch in with specific answers until I pinpoint to somebody and I ask, because if there might be a question like that from the chat. All right. If you're actively using Jira, what are some of the ways in which Confluence can provide value? Open to anybody. Let's say Theodora, let's start with you.
I can mention a couple of things. We're using Jira for our project planning. So we are a marketing team and we're working on a monthly cadence because the 2-week sprints are just not enough for us. But working on a monthly cadence, it's good and bad at the same time. So it allows you to have enough time for your activities, but sometimes you forget some things. And when you're connected between instances, let's say you work on upcoming blog and we're writing draft in Confluence, we're doing all our comments and reviews in Confluence, and we have our issue linked there. So you have this connection between the two, and you see that this thing is actually in progress. It's on this page, and whoever is interested either in the Jira progress or the Confluence progress can always go to the other two using the place where he is currently. So what we use most often is just embedding some Jira tickets in there and using all the Jira macros that are useful for us at this current stage.
Okay. Andy?
Yeah.
Marin, go ahead, Marin.
Yeah, okay, thank you. The same thing. I'm always trying to keep it simple, but I have a rule because I'm also the product manager and I'm creating a lot of Jira tickets. And actually, I always have a rule: if there is a Jira ticket, there should be a Confluence page. If there is a Confluence page, there is probably something in Jira that's connected. And I love this. I think that's one of the latest features where you can open Confluence directly in Jira without opening it in a new tab. So that's a rule. We also have marketing tickets. We also have sales tickets. And actually, everything is connected because we have a goal. And actually, everything, in my opinion, you should always have a Confluence page for everything because it's a dynamic, it's a collaboration tool. You can paste the comments and so on. If you have a Jira, what I'm putting in Jira is just an objective so that everyone understands, okay, what we are doing within the ticket. So it's not an empty thing. But I definitely believe if you have a Jira ticket, force your users or whatsoever, just create a Confluence page, not for every single technical depth, bug, and so on. But you should have a vision. You should understand what you are doing, and then collaboration will start. Embed some of the features, embed Figma files, and so on. That's a Confluence page. That's the great thing, how you can also improve the knowledge base. Just for one single Jira ticket. And then everything is transparent and it will be, I think, better and faster. So, Andy, sorry.
Perfect. Thank you. Excellent answer, Marin. I mean, so I come at it a little bit different because I'm coming from, I'm on top of operations in our organization. We have an entire development team off the side. They're in Jira all day. They're not necessarily in Confluence. I have an operations team that's not in Jira all day. So we're utilizing Confluence to be able to display some of the statistics and the progress that's going on within those projects instead of those people who don't really know how to navigate Jira. They've never, they know how to create a Jira ticket, but that's really it. They don't really know how to go through Jira and look at reports or timelines and to understand what's going on the roadmap. So embedding all of that into Confluence for those operational users has really been able to empower our organization to have more transparency as to what's going on in development and product. So, whether it's Jira timeline or the roadmap or just, charts in Confluence, that's been a big improvement. And then the other thing that we've done and we've adopted over the last couple of years, and COVID really helped to accelerate this when we all went remote and you couldn't just necessarily walk up to your coworker in the office and be like, hey, what's going on? Oh yeah, we're about to release that product, right? Is release notes in Confluence. So every single release that we publish, so we were an agile shop. Every 2 weeks we go through a sprint when we release. Before that release actually is published, the release notes are available in Confluence for everyone to review, and then we share them out from that Confluence page into our internal Slack channels for the teams that are most affected by those releases. So being able to have release notes in Confluence that are attached to the Jira projects and tickets has really changed the way that our organization operates from a product development standpoint.
Nice. Marin, coming to what you mentioned, every Jira ticket should have a Confluence page, right? When you build that many Confluence pages, how do you make sure that you are still organized and you are just not having a, entire plethora of pages where somebody is just creating pages left, right, and center? How do you organize a space in which you are able to create a ticket for a page for every ticket that you have?
Yeah, that's good question, and actually the pain points from many customers. We are doing some reviews, so I'm asking the people who are responsible for spaces to archive some of the pages, to maybe to change them, to reuse them, to think about maybe to putting more tickets on one page. So, in my opinion, you should have some time, or you should find some time to review your space, because the space is where your team lives. And this is something, okay, you have a dashboard, actually you're changing some information on dashboard, but there is your space. You need to take care, like you're take caring about where you live. I think you should take care about your Confluence page, Confluence space. I really don't care if you archive some of the pages. If I have a product managers on a team and they said, okay, but the page is very important, we need it here and so on. And I said, okay, how many views you have there? Or just check, you can't keep everything, because after 2 or 3 years, so I'm doing a lot of product demos. And then you see companies, they have 350 spaces with thousands of pages. And then I say, okay, maybe it's time to clean it up. Maybe it's time to review some of the pages, the usage and so on, maybe rewrite some of them, because it's really a case. In one point of time, you will have a bunch of content, and then you will say, okay, maybe Confluence is not good enough, but I think you should just review it. You should take care about that. And archive feature is enough, in my opinion.
Yeah. Perfect. I think Marin is just throwing t-shirt quotable quotes left, right, and center about you should consider your Confluence space like your home and just clean it all the time. That's brilliant. So let me have one more follow-up question, then we'll move on from this topic. Theodora and Andy, have you guys set in your specific organizations, do you guys have any specific duration after which you do an audit of your existing spaces or pages to check that maybe we should archive, maybe we should clone, or how do you retire data or pages in which do not make sense anymore?
We have, let's say, yearly cadence. I'm afraid to say it's more often, but most of the activities that we're working are associated with a year. So all the events that are happening with Atlassian is dedicated to a certain year. Most of our marketing activities hopefully stay within the year and not delaying or never going out. So for me, when I'm back from the Christmas holidays, January first week, where everyone are feeling miserable to go back to work, this is my time to revisit the old content and start archiving, and also preparing the new ones. So we kind of get rid of the old ones, but laying the pillars of existence for
Nice.
the next year. So we have everything doubled, but with the right year in front. We keep the layout of all pages, spaces, because we're used to it. The power of habit is really strong when you have a working set of spaces and pages. So I think yearly it's our thing.
Okay. Andy?
So we don't have a specific cadence in our organization. The reason for that is that a lot of our products and services are constantly evolving. So what we try and get our users to do is, rather than create a new page every time something changes, right? Don't have this page sprawl where you have 18 different pages that really say the same thing. Try and focus on a page, edit it, right? And then we can audit that page, and we can go back and look and see what the history of that page is, if there's anything that's changed, and compare different versions. So when we go from, let's say, version 1.1 to 1.2 to 1.3, that's all going to be within the same page, just with an update, that this is applicable to page 1 to version 1.2. If there's a complete new release, right, where we move to version 2, then we'll create version 2 pages. We'll look and see which content is still applicable in version 1 pages, move that over, right? Copy it over. Unfortunately, just basically, control C, control V, just cut and paste that, or copy and paste that over, and then archive those pages. What we do more archiving on is spaces than pages, because we find that, as Marin said, you have some organizations, 350 spaces. I mean, there's no organization in the world that should have 350 spaces that is less than, I don't know, 1 million employees, right? So people don't know how to properly utilize spaces. So they'll create spaces for a project as opposed to a team, not realizing that project should really sit within a team space, or vice versa. So we do a little bit more auditing on the space level, move those pages that got created in that space to the right place, and then archive those spaces rather than just on a page level. What I do try and ask my team leaders to do, though, is on a quarterly basis, just quickly look through the pages that your team uses, top 15, 20 pages. Are they accurate? Are they current? Do they need to be brought up to current? And if they do, assign those out to different team members, make sure they do the research and they do the updates that are necessary. But just make sure you stay on top of your knowledge and not rely on the fact that, yes, at one point the Confluence page was created. And then ever since then, there's been conversations in Slack or an email that never really made it back to that Confluence page. Confluence has to be the single source of truth for the organization. We have to bring everything in there. So in our organization, I say like Slack is where a conversation could take place, but where the documentation has to happen of that conversation, that's in Confluence.
Okay. And you link it back. I'm assuming everything is connected in Slack there using the add-ons or the integration itself.
Yes, we use integration to Slack. So each of the spaces has almost all the spaces have specific channels within Slack that are related to them. So we just have that integration, that webhook link, and anytime a page is updated or published, everyone in that Slack channel will be alerted to it.
All right, awesome, perfect. Taking the next step. The next item that I wanted to talk about was Confluence whiteboards. So recent announcement, some of you might have used it in the audience. I'm pretty sure this panel has definitely used whiteboards. Thoughts, will it replace Miro, Mural, those kind of things inside Confluence? What have you used it for? And what can whiteboards actually do? I'll start with you, Andy.
Okay. So one of the things I'll say at the outset is that my organization, we're on cloud, obviously. Even though I mentioned I started on server, we have been on cloud since 2016, and we try to participate in as many EAPs, early access programs, as possible within the Confluence space. I'm the administrator of our Confluence space, so I've the keys to the kingdom when there's an EAP announced. So we were in the whiteboards EAP, and the first thing I could say is that the product as it stands today, it started out as Canvas was the original name, is completely different than what it was at the EAP, which is great. It shows that there's been a progression in terms of the development. So anybody who's utilizing whiteboards today, which are now part of standard release within Confluence, can see a very different model than what we saw originally. So we started using it initially. Again, I come from an operations standpoint, so our development team using it almost like a virtual whiteboard, like you would have whiteboarding sessions with sticky notes, right? When you're planning out your sprints and very agile methodology usage. But from an operational standpoint, we've been using it as a replacement to build out some of our operational processes. So process mapping is what we've been using it for. We don't use a lot of the features with stickers and other things that are there that bring a whiteboard to life, but we're using it to replace some other third-party add-ons like Lucid Charts or Mermaid to be able to embed native Confluence material in Confluence pages. So when we have a process, and this goes back to what I said earlier, where we review our Confluence pages, our audits, and archiving, right? Where there might be a change to like the way we onboard a client, right? So we're actually whiteboarding that out, utilizing whiteboards and the shapes and that are available there to visualize a process that may have previously just been text on a page. And that's, I believe, given people the ability to like really digest that content better, because seeing a process that's not just text-based and really understanding it is much more powerful than just putting it on a piece of paper. That's how we've been using it on the operational side of the organization. And I could say that adoption has been slow because with any new functionality that comes out in Confluence, it's a lot about pushing it down into the organization and letting people understand it. But in the last month or two, we've seen a little bit more pickup from teams that feel more comfortable being able to create whiteboards. And because Confluence today now has, when you go to create a page, you click on that plus sign, right, to create, you are prompted. Are you looking to create a page or a whiteboard? People are much more aware of it, that it's there, that's available to them, and they can use it.
Nice. What about you, Meryl?
Sorry, here is noise, so I'm trying to mute myself. I was very surprised in Vegas where I saw whiteboards, and I also saw that a lot of some marketplace partners were also surprised. But I think that's not a game changer. but it's a huge thing. So we immediately started with using the app. So for example, what we did is, if I'm trying to if our project managers, product managers, if they are trying to explain the process, so from like I don't know, the usage of some features and so on, they are using it. It's what Andy said, it's completely different. If you write a user story as a user or as a product admin, as I need to do something because so on, actually you need to start and think about it. Okay, that's what my product manager thinks and so on. If you see it visually, that's great. And if you can also embed Figma, if you can do some cool charts and so on, I think that's a huge thing. And I'm not sure about changing Glyphy, Draw.io, Miro boards. That's huge apps with a lot of features. I think whiteboards would be simple, but for many companies enough. So when I say it's not a game changer, it's a big thing, I think a lot of companies will consider about changing some of those products, and that's my opinion. So I saw immediately what's a great thing actually. You don't need to think, okay, where I can create whiteboards. You click on a create, because you always need to click on create. You have an option, you can pick whiteboards. It's simple to use. I think they will improve it a lot, and I'm happy. So Confluence is getting more robust features, and I think that will be a great thing. So we are using it, and but for that purpose, for projects and visualization.
What about you, Theo?
I'm pretty much with Marin on that front. So that's an interesting addition to Confluence, but I'm guilty of not using it much myself. Within my team, I have no idea about the other teams, and I really see the value for agile teams which are distributed to use it just for whiteboarding.
Whiteboarding.
The big
there's a
the
very
big office
interesting
board.
comment. There's a very interesting comment in chat. I have to read it out. It's from Funman Andy. He says, find it bizarre that Atlassian went and spent time and budget on whiteboards. Either they could have just bought somebody and like acquired it and boosted it. It's a I think an interesting perspective, Andy, and we'll open to conversation. We'll allow you to unmute as well. But I to what Marin was saying, I was actually there, right, in Vegas as well. And when this was announced, I straight away, the first thing that I did was I went to Miro's booth, because I use Miro a lot for scaled agile trainings, for a bunch of agile trainings, and I said, "Is this something that will cause trouble for you? And did you know?" So two people said we kind of thought that we are going to see something like this. Most of them did not know, but the surrounding environment was that this is not going to become something way bigger than these apps currently are already. Like Glyphy is too big, Draw.io is too big, Miro is too big a giant for Atlassian to go into that market. And I think for beginners it's good. People who have not tried whiteboards, it's like a vanilla whiteboard for you to jump into and start using it. But it's definitely, when you start seeing the functionality, you kind of feel like, oh, maybe I think I should now gradually move on to something bigger, and like, somebody who knows how their diagramming works in a different manner.
Yeah, there's another comment from Funman Andy. It's also interesting. So
I will say that it's interesting that we do see in the community that there's been a push, for the Teamwork Lab and the Work Life team, that they've been pushing out a lot of the practice guides for different exercises that teams can do. And as those are being highlighted, they are actually creating whiteboard templates for those that are being released into the whiteboard. So currently, I believe that there is the Network of Teams and Team Formation Guide, which are two that they really focused on the last quarter. And I believe that as Mark and Sven and Dom actually evangelize this more, you're going to see specific Atlassian-based use cases in whiteboards. So not just like the ability to exercise your normal agile processes, but to be able to have very specific Atlassian ones. So I don't know. This is not necessarily an answer to Events Andy or Funman Andy, as he's called. Why they chose to develop their own product. I do believe that yes, there are definitely products out there that are much more powerful than than what whiteboards is today, and will always be more powerful. Then there will always be use cases for people to have them. But I think as a starter for anybody that's going into Confluence today, when it's part of your subscription and you're not paying anything extra for it, again, you don't know when Atlassian may change that. It's something that I think at least gives you the ability to get started. Pre-COVID, I remember when we launched, we used to be a waterfall shop, and then we moved to Agile. We moved to Agile and Scrum a little bit before COVID. I remember investing in all the whiteboards that we bought around the office. So each of our offices wound up with 3 rolling whiteboards that were 4 feet by 6 feet, and just a huge stack of Post-it notes and markers and tape, right, to be able to create your lanes. And this has eliminated the need for all of that, right? I mean, people don't gather around a physical whiteboard anymore. It's not possible. You have all of us, right? We've got India, Canada, United States, Europe, right here together, and we could whiteboard right now if we wanted to open up a whiteboard. That's not something that you could have done in the past, and I think that's what it's there for. I don't think it's there to necessarily replace all the other apps on the market.
Yeah, perfect. That's an interesting segue, the apps on the market, because that's what my next topic of conversation is. What are some of the must-have apps that you use when you are using Confluence? Let's start with you, Teo.
Glyphy. my love for Glyphy is just endless. I love them. I don't really use them so often, but sometimes we need to create some sample projects, wireframes, website design stuff, and it's very useful. It's nice to use, of course, if you have it in your instance, which is going back to the previous topic. If you don't have it, you probably go to whiteboards and do everything there. So that's a very powerful app that I love using since the beginning of time. And other apps we heavily use external share for Confluence. It's an app that allows you to share content with users outside your instance, unlimited amount of users without paying more licenses. And we had a rebranding at the beginning of 2022, and it allows us to work with our branding company. So it was super easy, just sharing with them the page, giving them the rights to edit and comment. And we had a huge success in this with not much drama around permissions or user licenses. And once the project is over, you just remove the access, you log the page, URL is no longer valid, and everything is safe and sound again. So that's a very nice app that we are using. And for documentation purposes, I like apps that are helping you design your space better. And we're actually if you're up for this, definitely give them a try. Most of the times, the basic functionality is enough for our needs, but these apps just take it to the next level.
All right. Maren, what about you? You can specifically talk about Keylor's apps as well. You don't have to hold back.
Okay. Good. Thanks for that. Glyphy. So that's what we are using. Nice. So as I told, it was before whiteboards, right? We are using whiteboard because it's interesting to use those features. But again, I agree that it's not enough, and I hope that they will stay as a simple solution, because a lot of effort all other partners had and have still to bring those cool features to Confluence. So one of them definitely Glyphy. I know what Theodora said. I know that we have also some customers that are using this external page sharing. That's very cool thing, because you can put it for external usage, and I see a lot of use cases there. There is one thing we are not using, but I'm actually very happy to when I saw that okay, he commented last, it's Fun Man Andy, he sent me something a few weeks ago. for signing the contracts. So you can share the page, and then you can sign it. So that's something what is very cool. But I think actually what is missing, and that's our app. So Theodora mentioned Aura, so we have something in the same direction. That's definitely content formatting. I think if you want to create engaging Confluence page, you don't need a website, but you need to add some engaging and content formatting options such as cards, buttons, and I think that's missing. So I'm really surprised that Atlassian never released a feature to put a button, because just a simple button can improve your Confluence page. So that's one thing. That's content formatting. Definitely, I don't want to say right now we have the best app, because Aura is also great, or our competitors are doing a great thing, but you should definitely pick one of the content formatting. The second thing is that's also our app, but I think there is one issue with Confluence. So you have blogs, you have pages, you have people, but there is no way to display it in a more engaging way. So okay, you need content formatting, you can create it, but so for example, if you have blogs, and then there is no way in a Confluence, so there is a way, but it looks, sorry Confluence, but it looks ugly. So there is no way to display blogs as a company news. So that's the direction where I go with my apps. So like everything what you have in Confluence, we are just trying to pick those information and show it in a more beautiful way. Like I want to display news in a magazine view, and a grid view with the pictures, and we measure it with our customers and solution partners. So if you have a blog and you share it within the Slack, maybe some users will click, read it. If you have an app that will display it in a more engaging way, you have 5 times more engagement from your employees, so they will click, like, and share if you have it like that. So that's the direction we go, and we are trying to go now in the direction of intranet. So we build an app for intranet, and I think that will be a huge thing, because a lot of customers are trying to move from SharePoint to Confluence. And I usually heard, especially from big customers, like, yeah, but we are using SharePoint. And then I said, okay, but I think SharePoint is not good enough. Yeah, I agree, but there is an intranet use case, so it's very important for us. So that's the direction we go in Confluence. In my opinion, Glyphy, great, all other features and so on. So we focus on content formatting because I think it's missing. Just small features, not change the whole design. There's visualization of news, people, so you can create a people as a cards and so on, and then internet. I think those 3 apps and those 3 use cases we need to cover better with some of the other small features I mentioned before. Yeah, that's my feedback, without promoting our company or our apps too much.
No, we definitely should. Cosmos, definitely, I think Andy has already written a message in the chat, has been, I think, a revelation in how you can work with your teams. So sorry, Andy, I'm stepping over what you were just writing. The other one, I think Refined also does not get enough credit for how their sites and themes have worked for a couple of customers, because I've had some people who literally came to me and said, hey, this changed the way we were looking at our Confluence. So, but definitely a really, really good set of apps. Andy, any specific pick for you?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to focus on apps that are utilized for editing or for changing content like Marin and Theodora did. We used to use more apps when we were on standard. Oddly enough, when we were on standard, we needed more apps just to create an environment that was more engaging. When we moved up to premium, a lot of what the apps were providing came into the premium. So for the most part, as an operational leader, I want to know what's going on in Confluence. Like, how are people engaging? So I use like page view insights. Shout out to AJ from View 26 on that one. Prior to that, we were using, I believe, like the whatever Google's app was for pulling in information. But now that we're on premium, we get the reporting that we want in Confluence, as opposed to having to leave Confluence for that reporting. So yeah, like page view metrics, page view insights, those are things that I'm interested in, and actually becomes part of our presentation to the board on a quarterly basis, where we say that, hey, this is what's been going on in our environment, because we want to show our board of directors that we're in an engaged workplace, and that the people are actually all critical to the process, right? No one person is replaceable. Everybody is contributing. Look at what we have. Look at the value that we have behind us, right? It's not, there's no siloed knowledge. It's become institutionalized. It's available to all. So that's what I focus on a lot. From an editing standpoint, like I said earlier, like, mermaid charts is what I was using before whiteboards came out. I haven't touched a mermaid chart since whiteboards came out. Nothing against mermaid charts. Just like, why would I when I have a native editor that I can use? It's a different format, it's different functionality, but it's native to Confluence, and I don't have to pay for it, right? So it's already there. So our organization has been, I'd say, we're more willing to pay for user licenses, like add more users into our environment, consultants, employees, than we are to go out and pay for an additional app license on a monthly basis. So we sort of limit the number of apps that are being used in our organization.
Yeah, perfect. All right, that brings me to the last 20 minutes of the conversation, after which we'll open it for everybody. And I really wanted to have this specific section for the last, which is, I call this one quote to rule them all. So what I've done is basically I went to LinkedIn, find out posts that all three of our panelists had made, and pulled up some context. So some quotes that these gentlemen and lady have made, and we're going to dig deeper into those. So obviously, I'm starting with you, Andy, because your message actually gave me this idea for this specific section, which was Confluence will solve world hunger and bring world peace. Can you please elaborate on that? How?
Okay, so I'll start with the micro, and then we can talk about the macro. So how did I fall in love with Confluence, right? So like I said, we previously, pre-2011, we were on a Red Hat Linux Apache-based server, wiki server, right? That you had to know wiki markup language to contribute to. We had a nice volume of data there that was actually being accessed by our internal teams, but nobody was contributing because nobody knew like wiki markup language. I mean, you go to Wikipedia and so what you see is what you get editor. You go to an internal wiki, it's completely different. Having to know, so nobody contributed. So we looked for a replacement. Somehow we wound up in Basecamp for like 3 months. I don't know how that happened. Definitely not meant for internal knowledge management. And then we found Confluence. That was my first introduction to Atlassian. And we moved all those wiki pages over, and we saw immediately like just the 200 to 500% month over month increase in terms of content, increase in terms of engagement. And I said, this is great. This is doing something. And at the time, I was in an organization that was very, very technical. And as we know, in very technical organizations, there's a reason why information gets siloed, because that's how people protect their territory. Like if I know something and you don't, so then I'm necessary and I am I'm not expendable, right? And people had a hard time sharing, and there was a lot of hoarding of information. And we started to see that it opened up. And something we did at the time was we deduplicated everyone. This is like circa 2012 or so, 2013, early 2013 maybe. We deduplicated everybody's My Documents folders on the network, right? So every single person in our Microsoft environment at the time, which was all server based, was before cloud or 365. We went and we ran a deduplication, and we found the key documentation that was sitting in everyone's folders, and there were like of 20 highly technical not developers at the time. We were like a support team, but like internal library on Confluence of all this documentation, right? That was available to all because it's searchable. It would search within PDFs, right? So you could type a search term into Confluence and you could find it even within the PDF. And what we saw there was, we thought initially like, okay, we're ruffling a lot of feathers here because we're basically taking people's power away from them. And people just jumped on board. And these people who had never, ever before like shared anything with anybody, all of a sudden were sharing, posting it in Confluence. Like there was finally a place for people to put things that lived in perpetuity. So that's the micro level. The macro level is that I believe that in the world today, right, a lot of our ills are from the fact that we have difficulty sharing. We have difficulty sharing with our neighbors. We have difficulty sharing across borders. We have difficulty sharing just in general because, it's an altruistic exercise to share. It's very, very easy to be egoistic and just hoard. And I truly do believe that if we take that mentality, not necessarily Confluence is going to solve it. I don't think we're going to figure out the solution for world hunger, produce Confluence page, share it with everybody, and all of a sudden, everybody in every country in the world is going to have enough food to eat. But I do believe that if we continue to exercise those muscles that we develop through utilizing something like Confluence, we will get to a point as a society where we can solve bigger problems because of what we've been taught in the usage of these products and services.
Wow. Brilliant. Brilliant. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that, Andy. All right. I next come to Marin. Marin, I found a post where you mentioned the navigation menu in Confluence is like a road sign that guides your users in the right direction. Can you spend some more light on it? And what's wrong with the current navigation menu, which you mentioned that people should, definitely fix?
Oh, okay. So that was promotion for our new feature. But yeah, there are some things that, in my opinion, should be improved. So upper navigate before, and that's a lot of users have the same feedback. Like before in DC or server, you can change the navigation, you can put some more menu entries and so on. And then I said, okay, that's cool. But I actually agree with everything what Confluence did with cloud, because I was also working with DC and Seva, and a lot of users, they changed it completely, and then it was not Confluence anymore. We did one feature because of huge demand from our customers when they said, yeah, but that it would be great if I have only one menu entry where you can just link your most important pages or blogs or whatsoever. And then we have started to build it. And actually, one of our most used features is this additional navigation. So it will appear under the navigation of Confluence, and you can create some external links there, and then you can create different styles and so on. And also, again, we are doing some metrics with our customers. When they are using this additional navigation, when they put their most important pages or spaces, so hey, there is a navigation for space, or most important content, also news and blogs in navigation, it's increasing extremely. And that's the reason why they need it, because they say, yes, this navigation is visible everywhere, and just additional links so that's visible everywhere will improve it. And that's the reason why I wrote this. Maybe it's hard to understand it. It was for marketing purposes, but I really believe that some of the content should be more visible. You have this homepage from Atlassian. It's cool, but I think you're not able to change it enough. And if you have something very important, if you want to share that page that's always visible within the Confluence, it's like your signs for go there, read it. It's very important. So that's the reason why I mention it. I don't want to feel that I'm promoting right now. I'm just sharing a lot of pain points from customer, because they really said, I need additional navigation. It should have more entries, more links, and so on, because I'm sometimes confused with the search button. And yeah, that's just customer feedback.
No, definitely. I think being somebody who actually, like Andy, moved from data center to cloud myself in my journey in Atlassian, I feel that. I feel that pain. A lot of my customers back in DC world used to just stick to Confluence because of some of the flexibilities that they used to have in DC, and they were worried about moving to cloud would take those away. But where you ended is actually where I'm going to point to Theodora and and read out her quote, which is: the biggest mistake when creating a Confluence space is laying it out like your head says. If your laziest coworker can't find it, then it's probably bad. Can you please elaborate on that, Theodora?
Oh, yeah, of course. Oof. Actually, one thing I will start with, it takes a team and not a product. And that's what we usually mess up when starting to use something big as a Confluence. And from my experience, I usually start with completely blank spaces, and people who love saying, I have everything that I need in my head. I don't trust any of these guys. It's not good to have everything in your head. People are not in your head, and it's very hard to communicate on something big when there's no information anywhere. But if you leave only one person to be responsible for the whole project without consulting with anyone else, that's as bigger issue as lack of information. And I've been through stories where I just imagined this project being laid out as I built it in Confluence. So I built some primary pages, I built some child pages, I throwed it out, and it turned out that nobody ever visited the space or referred to any of the information. It was just so wrongly built that no one was interested in looking at it. And that's when I understood my mistake. And the next time I started doing something, I just sit with my team and we figure out together which is the best approach, and where is this page living? How is this page constructed? We're sometimes heavily using Confluence templates. Some of the templates are very good. Most of them are not really applicable. We're not so business strategic minded. We love throwing some freehand things here and there. So if we're using templates, we're kind of getting rid of 50% of the pre-built content and building some other stuff in there. But we're doing this together. And then when you assign each team member a building of a page or a building of part of the page, even the smallest thing in the page, like can you please help me with this content structure? And you see that this person is already engaged, and it's more likely for them to continue working, revisiting this page, helping out with the delivery of the project. And if you're trying to push everything yourself and force people to work in some pages that they find ugly and hard to understand, that's usually not going anywhere.
Nice. Perfect.
Can
Andy
I
says
add
Theo's code for the win. Go ahead, Andy.
Can I add something to what T said? One of the ways that we increased engagement, or I wouldn't say engagement, collaboration in our organization was letting people know, don't be afraid to contribute. Yes, very often people are very scared of that blank page. You go to make that page, right? And you have a white space and it says, title here, whatever it tells you to put. And that's the only text on the page. They don't know where to start.
Yeah.
We often tell people, just contribute. And what we did internally to try and evangelize this was, we have a couple people on our team that are like Confluence super users. Say, listen, if you're putting content in and you don't know how to use formatting macros, or you don't know how to make it beautiful yet, get the content in there. We'll have somebody help you with making it more engaging. But don't be afraid of contributing, because that is oftentimes like the first impediment to anything. Is people are just afraid. They're afraid they're not expert. They don't have expertise. People are then afraid, okay, maybe I'm an expert, but I have no idea how to put it there. Like, copy and paste it from wherever you have it and put it in Confluence will help you figure out where it belongs and how to present it. And I think that's very important for anybody that's on the call today, that maybe within your organization, you're saying you're having issues with adoption. Very often it's because people fear contribution. People fear they're going to be judged by the words they put in. People fear they're going to be judged by the way that it's presented. Don't allow that to happen. Create either a subset of people internally that can review pages and that are there to volunteer. Don't do it yourself. Teach them how to do it, right? Like give a man a fish, feed him for a day, teach a man to fish, feed him for life, right? So teach them how to fish, show them how, oh, great, here's how we're going to divide up your page. We're going to use the divider macro here. See how that creates like a very, very simple way of showing the difference between the pages. Here's how to use headings, right? And then eventually those people become creators and contributors that are producing pages themselves that don't need any help. And then sometimes even themselves are the ones that on their teams become those advocates and help everybody else on the team with that specific project or purpose. So
perfect. Thank you. Yeah, thank you for sharing that, Andy. All right, so we're just right up on the hour, and I'm just going to read one question that is there from Ajay, which is the most useful automation rule in Confluence. Have you guys used automation for Confluence? Is there a specific rule that you feel is the most used or better one?
I definitely need to investigate it more. But I know that a lot of our customers I used. I saw different use cases. I tried to connect it with Slack several days ago. I can say that's very useful. So to have those automation, I used automations with Zapier before. So I think also that's a great feature from Atlassian, and there are several use cases you can do it. You definitely need more automations, especially when your Confluence is getting grow. To be honest, I'm not using it too much within my company. I'm just checking customer use cases. I can say this one integration between. So if you publish the page, then notifications Slack is being triggered and so on. That's something what I think that's cool, and maybe they can engage people even more. But
nice.
To be honest, I didn't use it too much.
Okay, Theodora, Andy, any chance that you got a chance to look into it?
Yeah, so same here. We're more of a visual team than something else. We don't often rely on automation for our tasks. We just love to have our own control over the pages.
So again, it was an EAP program that we were a part of, but at the time that we joined the EAP, we were going through a private equity exit, which was very exciting for the organization, but also took away a lot of the focus that anybody that would have actually been initially building out automation and Confluence from it. So we haven't really gotten back to it yet. Still something that I would like to use more in our organization. There's definitely a lot of use cases I could think of, particularly for repetitive meetings that happen, like on a weekly or bi-weekly basis, like to create those meeting pages to get them populated, right? And that way you're not just copying the previous meetings page and then just updating the date or adding notes below, but haven't gotten into it enough yet to really comment on it. So sorry, AJ.
No worries. I think we can probably, maybe once we've got enough exposure to it, maybe talk about a session around automation for Confluence sometime in the near future. But yeah, thank you, Andy. Thank you, Theodora. Thank you, Maren, for sharing this amazing conversation. I think this is one of the most audience retained session that I've done. We started with somewhere around 43 until 5 minutes back. We had somewhere around 38, 39 people. There's still 36 people on the call while the hour is up as well. There is an interesting question that Andy has posted, which is the strangest thing you have used Confluence for. So I will answer this before Andy says making gangster rap videos, which is obviously a perfect answer. So in my previous engagement, one of my customers was planning to leave Confluence. So they asked us and as consultants and work with them to build a plan in Confluence. And we did. And by the end of the entire plan, when it was sorted and everything, they decided to keep it because that's when they discovered the better planning features in collaboration while they were planning to leave Confluence. They ended up not leaving. They stayed in Confluence. But yeah, that was the strangest reason thing that I use Confluence for while preparing a plan to quit Confluence.
Theodora, do you have one?
Oh, I have many. In my personal instance, you can find basically everything from recipes and collaboration on some submissions, drafts for pages. It's like everything. But I think the strangest thing that I did in my company was when we started this monthly cadence of a sprint. I was wondering how to make it more entertaining and how to just start this thing off. We were figuring out the way to work, and we've been through a lot of changes. So I decided I will name my sprints with the name of a popular dessert recipe that is somewhere from the country of our team member. So I'm picking a random team member and I'm finding their best treat, and then I name the sprint, and at the end of the sprint we have this blog page that is showing what we've done. with Fun Man Andy will be happy to hear that, but 50% emojis, 50% text on the page. So you need to search for the words in this page. And I was ending the reports, but the reports was imagine like this project went well. Then we had issues with someone's dog. Then we had this meeting that nobody said anything. So you had the recurring updates that are of various importance, sometimes zero importance, and we end up with the recipe for the thing that I named the sprint. And I had like 4 or 5 pages like this, and then our friend Chris Cook one day he just stumbled across a blog post and he wasn't aware of the whole thing, and he's like, why we have dessert recipes on our Confluence? Can we stop doing this with the sprints? Yeah.
Nice.
You have a better idea, big man?
So, Maren,
yeah,
any specific?
Many things.
Yeah. He's judging us right now.
I really don't know. So I was in a lot of product demos and I saw everything. Also people trying to do crazy things and overcomplicate Confluence and so on. But I need to share one thing. And I met once a guy that was also the product demo, and he told me like that he's crazy about Confluence and all features and so on. And he told me like I'm using it privately, and I said, wow, how? And he said that he's sharing pages with his kids and his wife, and they are doing action points in Confluence. Then I was okay, is it so? So that Confluence is really great if someone can use it for that. And he told me like it's the best thing ever because he's sharing things, how to do something for the kids, and then they get checked and cook something and so on, and they have action points in that. So that was the craziest thing I have ever seen. For me, yeah, because I'm also using it privately, but it's always something related to business. If I'm reading something, then I write a page. But I was never thinking that people would use it within the family and share action points. And so it's not something we can say it's really crazy because I respect it a lot, but it was funny for me. And then I said, okay, it's nice. Really interesting. So that's the thing I can share, but I have never seen something like I saw the comment here, rep video or something, maybe. So
yeah.
Yeah.
Andy, what about yourself?
So I have a current one and one that I'm working on, and then one that I've put in place. So the one that I'm working on is I'm planning a bike packing trip with 8 to 10 friends. So there's something in New York State called the Empire State Trail, which is something depending on which trail you take, either between 750 or 900 miles, biking mostly on closed roads that used to be part of a rail network that was changed to rail trails. So I've been trying to plan a 5-day trip for us to conquer this trail. So the planning I've been doing and ride with GPS to be able to figure out the routes that we're going to take, but then I'm embedding those into Confluence and then creating the daily itineraries for each day. How many miles, what the elevation is, where we're going to stay, booking the Airbnbs, figuring out where the local bike shops are. So really taking a lot of content that's out there and bringing it into Confluence so the 10 of us can collaborate on this and actually make it happen. So it's one of those like passion projects for me where like I know that if I create the Confluence page and I work on it, we'll get there, as opposed to just being like a conversation in WhatsApp. And like, yeah, great idea. Yeah. Okay, maybe we'll do that. Like, see it, build it, get people excited about it, and then we'll eventually do it. So we're hoping to do it next spring, like May time before it gets too hot in New York. I'll take off a week from work, each of us, to do it. So it's a commitment, got to do it in advance. So building that out and then share, and then everyone else can collaborate in the page. So if they have ideas or things that they could do, or we could assign out different tasks to different people, like booking the restaurants or the local food places that we're going to do it when we have this stop. The other thing that I'm using it for now, which is really great in my dev environment, is that Matthias from K15T actually published a Forge app that goes into Bevy, which is the Atlassian events database, for lack of a better term, and provides you information on all events that have been published there. So even if they're not available on the ace.atlassian.com page, because it only lists up like the next 20 events there. You could see out through 2024, and I have a goal of each quarter not just attending an event that takes place in our local chapter in New York City, but traveling to another event. So because of that, I was able to book travel for an event in Northern Virginia in November, one in January as well, and also to work on my own travel schedule. I don't travel a lot for business anymore, thank God. I used to travel a ton prior to COVID, and in my previous organization, I was away from my family just too much. But I do have to travel every once in a while. My travel isn't always dictated by like a specific date. It means I have to get to my Montreal office like, twice a year. Well, I'll plan that around when there's an ACE event happening in Montreal, so I can get together with the people in Montreal, Dennis and Carolyn and all the team there, or maybe Susan Houth yesterday and I were on a call and she said, when you come to Toronto for that? So I could look at seeing when I could book, travel to Toronto, or Marin is today. So I'm using Confluence for that because it's a Forge app. The only way to really pull that data together from these resources is to install it in Confluence, and then I'm utilizing that to plan my travel for the future. So
nice. I don't think it's strange at all. I think it's actually very smart. That's good. I had read about that somewhere in the community Slack, I think when Matthias posted about it. But yeah, that's an interesting use, Andy.
Yeah, definitely.
All right. Thank you, everybody. I think we are 10 minutes over time, but this has been a hoot. I loved having this conversation. I'm just reading through the chat to see if I've not missed any specific question that anybody posted. No, just one message I think I did not acknowledge, which was Andy's around his session on October 4th in JiraCon, which is an event that Trundle hosts. So yeah, that's on October 4th. Andy's speaking there. If you are interested, please join in. Go to jiracon.trundle.com and you'll be able to see every detail there. Thank you, Theodora. Thank you, Andy. Thank you, Marin, for joining us. It has been a pleasure hosting you guys and having this conversation. We'll post this video probably next week. And yeah, any questions, comments, final closing thoughts from anybody?
Great event. It was early in the morning for me, but it was really a pleasure with Andy and Theodora. And I can't wait to see you again on JiraCon. And really, so if I can participate again in future, feel free to invite me, because I love to share my experiences with Atlassian products, especially Confluence, and I really enjoyed, and I hope that audience also enjoyed.
Awesome. Thank you. And a big shout out to all the co-leaders that were on the call. Ajay is here. I see Janaki is here from Kathmandu. Jimmy is here. I saw for a while Ashish was here as well. Vikram is here from Delhi Ace. And I think those are, Andy has dropped, obviously. The Fun Man events, Andy has dropped. But yeah, shout out to everybody. This community is amazing. Thank you for everybody who could make it today's session, and have a good weekend.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.